That is exactly right. It's good to be with you guys again. It's obviously a good time for me to be in the pressure cooker, as I like to say, but it's a great opportunity for our guys to really build on what we've done in the first semester.
Okay, so we're having some connectivity problems on the road
Well,
here.
hopefully
Just a
it's not
little bit,
me.
but that just might make it difficult for each of us. Let's go through this, and because man, as we um, as we met early in the season, you had just come on, even before school started, hadn't gotten into the classroom, and you were really excited about coming into this new job. Talk about that first semester and how you made it up through the holiday, coming out of the holidays with a above 500. You were 4-3, 2-2 in district.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to August when we really kind of just started to get going. Obviously, we were doing some things in the summertime, but when you have school and classes and all the necessary things that go on to be a student athlete, I think that we've done really well. We've been really fortunate to have had some early success and win some games, especially on the road. And I think the guys are really starting to understand what it takes to win. And I think that's been the most encouraging thing for me as a coach, taking on a new opportunity, being entrusted with the program, getting our guys to understand what it takes to build good habits, be consistent, all those things that you hear in athletics. But it's been a fun ride to this point, and I'm really trying to get our guys to understand even more the importance of every opportunity. I talk to them a lot about gratitude, just being grateful for one to be alive, but also with being able to be grateful for the ability to play basketball. Not everybody's gets these opportunities, and believe it or not, these 4 years in high school go by really fast. And so I try to tell them all the time, hey, we got to maximize every opportunity we get, whether it's practice or scrimmage, and then obviously in the games.
Well, in the games, I witnessed you before the break over at the Hera tournament, and you guys played pretty well against Tuttle. Well, was it? It might not have been Tuttle. That might have been the girls. But the game I watched you play, you guys played pretty well. Then you came back the next night, and I was sorry that I had missed an overtime. That had turned out to an overtime loss, but against a tough McGinnis team. Take us through that and kind of the building blocks there in those early days about those tough games against good teams.
Yeah, Hair tournament was a great opportunity for us to go see some teams that we typically probably wouldn't see. I thought we had a really good chance to win games. I thought we positioned ourselves really well Thursday. Even though we didn't play great, I thought we still found a way to win, obviously. And then going into Friday against a good Bishop McGinnis team, a game we felt like we controlled for third quarter plus, and I thought that we really did a good job of executing, and credit to McGinnis. They, found a way to win the game. And I took a lot of the ownership as the coach and not putting our guys in positions to finish that game. But what I love the most about the entire tournament, obviously most teams want to go try to play on Saturday in the primetime game and win 3 games. But, I thought our response to losing that game on Friday and then coming back on Saturday, playing the way we did, was very indicative of what I think is sustainable, because the truth of the matter is you're going to find adversity in some way, shape, or form throughout the season. But it's how you respond to that adversity. And I thought we did a really good job of kind of picking ourselves up off the map, so to speak, and then coming back on Saturday with a good win against Hera.
I would agree with that, man. And you have a team with a lot of underclassmen. You've got a little bit of senior leadership there with 3-year starter Aidon Sequiros. But then soon after that, you had another game, a tough loss to Edison, who's going to be a district foe who now you're going to have to go on the road and beat, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But you took a break. You had, almost 20 days off before last night's game, and you and I talked before last night's game, and you really weren't sure how the guys were going to be able to respond to such a break. So talk a little bit about that break and what you worked on specifically while you had their attention there in that offseason, because I know these guys want to win, and 4-3 is not where they wanted to be.
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate to have had some time off. I thought it was much needed for both the coaching staff and our players to recharge the batteries and reset. But I didn't want them to have too much time off. And so we spent a lot of time working in the gym. I think we took maybe 4 or 5 days off total, whether it be practice or open gyms. Guys were in the gym. So we wanted to try to keep some consistency with our routine. And I thought it was a benefit to us because we were able to really kind of iron out some things. We were able to really get better and just focus on us. You know, with not having a game, you're not really worried about scouts or preps or anything like that. You can really focus on areas that you need to work on. And I thought we did a really good job. And I thought our guys were, for the most part, very engaged throughout the entire winter break. And so, you know, when we talked, I didn't really know what a break would look like for our team because we hadn't had a big break to that point. And so, obviously, last night was very encouraging to see. I thought we had a really good day the day before practice and a pretty good practice the day before that. And so I was very confident going into the game with our mentality and our approach. And then so it was very encouraging to see us get rewarded for our preparation.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Going into that game, you were gracious enough to ship me some stats. I mean, you have Aidon Sequiros up there leading the way in just about every category, and you expect that from him, I would think. Aidon, been a 3-year starter. He's averaging close to 20, and some would call it 20 points a game. Talk a little bit about Aidon and the start he's had to his senior year.
Absolutely. And Aidon Sequiros has obviously been a 3-year starter, scored a lot of baskets in a Shawnee jersey. And I challenged Aidon before the season just because I wanted him to maximize his potential. And I said, hey, man, we're going to go as far as you take us. And I didn't want him to feel any pressure, but I did want him to understand that, like, I trust you, your teammates trust you, we all believe in you. It's up to you to go out there and produce. And credit to him, he is a walking bucket, as I like to say. I mean, he's got, I believe, 15 points in every game at least this year. Last night he had 30 points in 3 quarters on a very efficient night. Not sure what exactly his field goal percentage was, but I know he only missed 2 or 3 shots. And that's typical Aidon. You know, he's going to come in every single day. He doesn't say much, doesn't really say a whole lot at all, honestly. But what I do know is that when you look up at the end of the night and you look at the stat sheet, he fills up the stat sheet. And in my opinion, he's one of the best players in the state, regardless of class, just because he can do a lot on the floor. He can obviously score inside. He can facilitate. He's a very unselfish player. He can rebound, and he can defend. And so I think when you put all that together, he is a mismatch problem for a lot of teams. And so I'm really excited for him to finish out his senior year in a Shawnee jersey and hopefully be able to take us as far as we can go.
Well, and something that goes underrated with him, I think, is his ball handling ability. He can really, at the next level, he doesn't have to play underneath. He's got ball handling skills to be able to do whatever a coach would need. And talking about whatever a coach would need, you also have a junior playmaker, RahMel Slaughter. We've heard that name a lot. He's been starting right alongside Aidon for the last 3 years. He came on as a freshman, and you expect a lot out of RahMel. Talk a little bit about RahMel and what he means to you.
Yeah, I mean, anybody familiar with Shawnee athletics, specifically football and basketball, if you know RahMel Slaughter, you know one thing, he's going to compete. And one thing I've challenged RahMel to do even better is to compete every single day, not just Tuesdays and Fridays, because I think that for him and his personal development, overall growth, that's one thing that he can really, really grow into. And I think he has the ability to become a special player just because he's a competitor. I mean, plain and simply, he's going to come in every single game wanting to take on the opposing team's best player. He's not afraid of the moment. And it's been very encouraging to see him kind of grow into more of a point guard role and do whatever is needed for us to win the game. I told him as recent as last night before the game, I said, what's the most important stat for a point guard? And of course, he didn't really know. It wasn't really a trick question, but he thought it was assists. I said, well, that's a good quality to have. I would definitely agree. I said, but the most important stat to me as a point guard is wins. I said, truth of the matter is we're going to go as far as Aidon will take us. But the reality is RahMel for us is kind of the heart and soul of our team. He has a lot of respect from his peers. Obviously, when he kind of steps in the room, he assumes the alpha dog role just because of his personality. But I've told him that comes with a lot of responsibility, and most importantly, you have to be consistent. And truth be told, RahMel's really just scratching the surface of where I think he can become, because I do think he has a really, really high ceiling. I think he has a chance to become a special player, and even if he wants to go play college basketball.
I would agree with you. He's very talented, very gifted, and somebody who I did not realize, and I'm experiencing for the first time, unless I missed him somehow last year, Samilton. Man,
Yeah.
Aidon Samilton, a sophomore coming in, jump center for you, even though he plays down low off. He's not the biggest player on the floor, but man, that guy is athletic, and he's averaging almost 10 plus a game as a sophomore. Talk a little bit about Ian.
Yeah, I want to take this time to publicly give Ian his flowers. Ian's been through a lot in the last 2 years. I know he's done a lot of growing up. I guess the easiest way for me to say is he's finally starting to learn how to become a high school basketball player. And with that, I just simply mean that when you're younger and you're probably bigger or more athletic than everybody, you can get away with a lot of things. And he's by no means a finished product, but I think anybody who watches us play and anybody who watches him can see that he's talented. He's probably one of, if not the most gifted basketball players on our team. But the biggest thing I've tried to challenge him is with his mental approach. And he's been improving. He's definitely starting to understand he wants to do the right thing. Like most kids and young people, he struggles to kind of overcome himself. You know, I think his biggest problem right now at times is himself. But I was very, very encouraged to see him last night just play within the game. He didn't really force too much. And he's a guy that's not afraid of the moment. And for us, sometimes you got to let a guy like that kind of take some shots because he's going to make some of them. Against Edison, we were down 13 plus, and he stepped up and jumped in there and hit 2 big threes to kind of get us off life support. And so that's the player he is. He's not afraid of the moment. And I really think that he's a guy that can really, really become a really good player over the next 2 years.
Well, your team performed last night against a Tulsa Rogers team that frankly was outgunned and outmatched. But what was impressive is you guys came out and put the points on the board early. And talk a little bit about last night's game against and what you anticipate coming up over the next week before I talk to you again next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll give a lot of credit to Coach Kite. Coach Kite's been a basketball coach here in Oklahoma for a number of years. Most recently, he was at Bixby, had a lot of success there, and he's now at Rogers, obviously taking on a new program. And I actually talked to him before the game, and he said when he got there, he was excited because he felt like he had a good chance to really compete. And then, unfortunately for him, he had some kids leave, and so that kind of shifted his perspective and shifted how their team was constructed. And so now they're playing quite a few freshmen and sophomores. I think they have one junior, and that's it, and everybody else is freshmen and sophomores. And so I know in the future they're going to be a tough team just because they've got some freshmen and sophomore getting some reps right now. But I told my team, I said, hey, this is an opportunity for us to really build some momentum. And it wasn't anything to do with Rogers. It was just I feel like this semester, specifically this month, January, is an opportunity for our ball club to really generate some momentum. I've challenged everybody in our locker room to every single day come in with the mentality that we're on a mission. And I think that they're starting to understand that. I think that they are starting to buy into the fact that, hey, we have a pretty good team. When we're pretty good, we're pretty good. And we have to be consistent. And so I want our approach to be that whoever we're playing, we're trying to get through and do whatever it takes to win and then get to the next game. And I think they're really starting to understand that. I know they get tired of me saying that the most important game of the season is our next game. So right now, the most important game, the biggest game of our season is Thursday at 2:30 against Community Christian. And then once that game ends, we'll focus on the next one and just continue to keep that mentality. And I think if we have that approach, I think we'll be able to maximize our potential. So going back to what you said about Rogers, I thought our approach was great. I told our team, hey, I want us to be in kill mode. I want us to be, very locked in from the get-go because that's how we maximize our potential. That's how we reach our standard. That's how we get to where we want to go. And whoever we've played is just on the schedule, and they're just in the way.
really like your attitude, Coach, in building them one game at a time. And January is a big month. It always is for basketball season, either to build the momentum or lose momentum. But with what
Absolutely.
I saw last night, it's an exciting brand of basketball that you play. And I want to invite everybody out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the 16th, Friday, is your next home game at the Pack. We're going to be there, and that's going to be a Hall of Fame night. So it should be a fun night for everybody. Give your best invite for people to come follow Wolves basketball, in particular you and your team, to the tournament that you're going to this week, and then next week out when you take on a really tough Collinsville team. That's a team you're going to have to get a victory against if you want to advance in the top 4 to the playoffs.
Absolutely. So we'll start with our tournament. We go to Noble Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Play Thursday at 2:30 against a pretty good community Christian team, and then we'll obviously see what happens from there. But next week we have 2 really good teams coming right at us. You know, we go to Booker T. Washington, who in my opinion is the best team in the state, regardless of class. And then Friday on the 16th, as you said, we have Collinsville coming off a state tournament appearance last year, and I know they're going to be a tough team. So it'll be a good opportunity for us to go and see where we're at. I think our guys are, again, starting to understand that, hey, we can go compete. We have enough, and I think they're starting to believe that if we're locked in, we're going to give everybody our best shot. And so I don't anticipate anything different, especially against Collinsville on Friday. So I would definitely invite anybody to come out. If you don't have anything to do on Friday, next Friday, January 16th, come check us out. I know it's going to be an exciting game. I know our guys are going to be ready to go. It should be a great atmosphere.
Yeah. So, Chad, it kicked me off for a second. That's what happened. But
All good.
yeah, but I appreciated what you shared throughout today. And man, I am happy with, I think everybody who was in the gym last night really enjoyed watching both the Lady Wolves and the Wolves.
Absolutely.
And it's always fun to come out to the Pack. I sure appreciate you and the job you're doing with our kids. And we'll talk again next week, I hope, at this same time. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good, Daniel. I appreciate you guys. And as always, go Wolves.
All right, my man. Thank you for being with us, and thank everyone for staying with us, even through some difficulties, as you've watched the Chad Johnson Coaches Show right here on ShawneeCTV, where together, all of us, we build community one season at